flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if we could have the minutes on the previous month meeting.
Silver Lake Township Supervisors held their regular monthly meeting on Tuesday, September 4th, 2012 at the Silver Lake Township building. Francis Fruhan called the meeting to order at 7 p.m. and everyone saluted the flag. The minutes from the August meeting were read and approved on a motion made by Francis Fruhan and seconded by Evan Everett. The Treasurer's report was read and held for audit on a motion made by Francis Fruhan and seconded by Evan Everett. Correspondence. ARM Group on behalf of WPX Energy regarding proposed well pads and access driveways to the Murphy property on Woodland Road and the Powers property also on Woodland Road. They will be sharing the same access drive from Woodland Road. Public comment. Craig Stevens stated that Chesapeake is going for wet gas and may be selling area leases to other companies. Mr. Stevens said that water used at farms is just like water used at restaurants for the reasons they are generating food. Any changes in the water must be reported because it is considered a public water source. This is part of the Clean Water Act. Vera Scroggins said she writes to newspaper editors periodically, and after a recent letter she received several phone calls from people who talked to her about changes in their water. She advised them to contact DEP for free water testing. Residents from Arrowhead Lake Road were concerned about the dust on their road. They feel it was a health hazard and wanted more or better dust control. If there is a wind, the dust goes down the entire road. Residents feel they cannot open their windows. The salt brine currently being used is not helping with the dust. There are a lot more homes on the road now, which means a lot more traffic, as well as gas activity. Evan Everett talked to the gas company and was told their traffic comes from the paved end of the road. He explained brine is put down on the road as it is worked. It has been a very dry summer. Liquid calcium is very expensive. Evan Everett said next year he will look at other dust control methods, but the road budget for this year is already set. It was also pointed out that there is a ditch on Arrowhead Lake Road that needs to be cleaned out. Evan Everett said he will take a look at it. Vera Scroggins asked if there was anything new on the Laurel Lake residents who are having problems with their wells. Mr. Everett said he met with someone in DEP. The DEP will continue to monitor the wells and put in water treatment systems. Once this is done, the responsibility will be the homeowners to maintain the system. Under new business, Jim Chambers spoke regarding an update to the township website. There have been changes to programs and he will eventually need to update the website he takes care of. The program is $800 and asks the township for $100. He has other customers who will also be sharing the cost of the upgrade. Mr. Chambers said his labor will be at no cost to the township. Francis Fruhan made a motion to approve the request for $100 to Jim Chambers. Evan Everett seconded approved. Francis Fruhan read a proposed resolution titled Public Participation with guidelines for public comment which includes a time limit of 5 minutes per person. This resolution was prepared by the township solicitor Paul Litwin. Francis Fruhan made a motion to put the public comment resolution on the floor. Evan Everett seconded. Craig Stevens said Silver Lake Township meetings are the shortest township meetings in the area. Mr. Fruhan said if there is new business prior to the supervisors voting on an issue, additional time would be allowed beyond the public comment section of the meeting. The resolution was approved with all supervisors voting in favor. Francis Fruhan spoke regarding the Forest Lake Township police contract. The agreement expires at the end of this year. July 19, 2012, a letter was received from Frank Pinkowski about the agreement. Mr. Fruhan said he spoke to Mr. Pinkowski several times and met with him the end of August. Mr. Fruhan said it was his understanding that Forest Lake Township would be looking into starting their own police department. Mr. Fruhan asked for a copy of Forest Lake Township meeting minutes, but had not received them. It was also asked if Forest Lake had an amount in mind that if they would be willing to stay with Silver Lake Township. Mr. Pinkowski said he did not have a number. The township solicitor said to proceed with negotiations it would need to be voted on during a public meeting. If Silver Lake does not proceed, the solicitor recommended working on an hourly agreement and not on a fixed fee as it is now. No motion was made to pursue with negotiations with Forest Lake Township. Francis Ruhan made a motion to notify Forest Lake Township with a letter to let them know Silver Lake Township will not be proceeding with negotiations and will therefore not be renewing the police services contract. George Buffum asked if any profit was made with the current contract. Mr. Fruhan said there was not. Rod Reagan asked if Silver Lake Township would continue to work in Forest Lake Township. Francis Fruhan said only until the end of the year when the agreement expires. Jim Chambers said sharing the cost with another township helped keep the cost down for Silver Lake Township. Mr. Fruhan said that it was, in his opinion, that it created liability and was a diversion from focusing efforts on Silver Lake Township. Chief Berg asked if the department would be downsized. Francis Fruhan said no decision has been made and will be reviewed when working on the budget. The motion was approved with all supervisors voting in favor. Mr. Fruhan said he would send a letter to Forest Lake Township. Evan Everett made a motion to appoint Francis Fruhan as the police liaison for the police services contract. Sandy Brink seconded, approved. Chief Tim Berg gave the police report with 39 incidents in Silver Lake Township for the month of August. Francis Fruhan briefly discussed Act 13 as the gas well impact fee. This is not a tax and it is a per well fee paid by the gas companies. The annual declining fee is based on the price of gas. Mr. Fruhan said has only seen unofficial estimates of revenue for the township. There is a limit of how much a township can receive. The solicitor was recommending proceeding with the 2013 budget as if no money would be received. There are restrictions on how the money can be spent. Evan Everett gave the police report. The grading of the road report, sorry. The grading of the township roads is done. John C. McNamara is scheduled to be oiled and chipped for 3/10 of a mile. PennDOT has acknowledged the letter for Murphy's Corners and will be conducting a safety study. They will let us know the results when the study is complete. Bear Scroggins asked if the results for the speed minders was received. The township did not receive any results. Assessment permits, none. Driveway permits, none applied for and none issued. Fireworks permits, none. Francis Fruhan made a motion to pay the bills as submitted. Evan Everett seconded, approved. As no further business was presented, Francis Fruhan adjourned the meeting.
Okay, I got a question. Chief, when you get, we had in the minutes, I don't know if this is correct, when you gave the police report with 39 incidents, that was just 39 incidents in both townships? Was that specific?
Just Silver Lake.
It was specifically Silver, so it is correct as written, okay. All right. All right, so I think we're good as it was written first.
Okay.
All right.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
I'll second that. All in favor? Report?
General Fund, Pennsylvania Department of Revenue, 224.38, Clabrack, 186.12, Frontier, 280.31, Geisinger, 1,090.60, Evan Everett, 974.31, Seth Everett, 940.83, Michael Hornick, 497.52, Chris Short, 934.35, Levi Tiffany, 271.48, John Walker, 183 even, Tim Berg, 823.58, and Nowick, 320.20. Then it's auto repair, $60 even, Bob O'Reilly and Son, 1,150 even, Chase Card Services, $319.12, Shenango Supply, $57.22, Cintas, $419.74, Comprehensive Consulting, $50 even, Damascus Quarries, $5,663.67, DGK Insurance, $16,695.52, FS Lockies, $6,709.24, Kurkowski Excavating, $7,265 even, Williams Oil and Propane, $267.91, Tim Berg, $823.58, Evan Everett, excuse me, $974.31, Seth Everett, $940.83, Michael Hornick, $497.52, Ed Nowick, $429.65, Levi Tiffany, $271.48, John Walker, $271.48, Anthony Litwin, $222.51, Sandy Brink, $210 even, Sandy Brink, $368.95, Chris Short, 93083. Started with a balance of $272,364.51. Receipts at $23,414.65. Disbursements $55,121.33, leaving a balance of $240,660.83. State funds, Cook Brothers Truck Parts, $58.30. Damascus Quarries, $1,853.41. Fastenal, $52.57. Fleet Guide, $7.61. J&G Excavating, $2,220 even. Ken Cublow, $6 even. Montrose Auto Parts, $31.99. Williams Oil, $3,059.79. Damascus Quarries, $5,514.21. Started with a balance of $139,856.26. Receipts at $4.96. Disbursements at $7,251.91, leaving a balance of $132,609.31. Police Department, Frontier, $164.66. Verizon, $88.25. AT&T, $36.04. Bradco Supply, $48 even. Chase Car Services, $9 even. Chuck's Car Care, $125 even. Culnane's Garage, $212 even. Dan's, $142.39. Joseph Berry, $50 even. Silver Lake General Fund, $13,803.64. And McGuire Electronics, $135 even. Started with a balance of $77,805.03. Receipts at $688.96. Disbursements at $14,813.88, leaving a balance of $63,680.11. Fire Fund, Silver Lake Fire Company, $215.23. Started with a balance of $10. Receipts at $216.24. Disbursements at $215.23, leaving a balance of $10.01. Building Fund, $1,281.43. Started with a balance of $21,559.32. Receipts at $90.20. Disbursements at $1,281.43, leaving a balance of $20,278.42.
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report, Trev.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor? All right, new business? I'm sorry, public comment. We don't have any business tonight.
Was there an item in there on the expenditure of Krakowski estimating or surveying or something?
Excavating.
Oh, excavating.
Excavating.
Oh,
Was there with Bill this month?
No, that was last month.
Right. That was for our dirt and gravel road project. They did trucking for us.
I'm worried about the burglaries and everything, and I'd like to know if we can hear from the chief of police or somebody to tell us what's been, what's been happening, what they're doing.
Okay, how about during the police report, after your report, you can kind of give a synopsis of what's going on. We'll get to that with the police report.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Is there anybody that alerts the media, paper, television, as to what goes on with the recent break-ins and what happened? I mean, if it wasn't for the ladies' club, I wouldn't know.
It was on the news.
I don't get 16, so.
Yeah, I don't alert them. I mean, I have it. I don't know if anybody else has.
Yeah, but not everybody gets 16. A lot of people don't get 12 now, but 12 doesn't say anything anyway. The newspaper, they're 12 miles away and they don't say anything about this area. But they report on Horseheads and Elmira, but they don't come, a dozen miles south, and so nobody knows unless, you know, somebody says something. So you don't know what to look for. And the best thing is people's eyes, you know, they see what's going on, and they keep an eye out for things.
Yeah, I think it's good to, for people.
Yeah, I mean, but if you don't know, you know.
1290 mentioned it one morning, 1290 AM
Yeah.
radio,
Okay.
mentioned it one morning.
Yeah.
That's about all I heard from the Binghamton area.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were gonna bring Steve with us, Steve Whitmore with us. He's not well, he's sick and he has something going on with his back. Anyway, he wanted me to share something. He just said that he's very concerned with the senior citizens. And he's never had this happen before. It devastated him, just so you know that. And he's very concerned. He gets up in the middle of the night and he sees cars go real slow, you know, up the road with, and he's like, he just wants to know what's happening. You know, why isn't there more protection? And you know, he was very concerned. I feel bad for him. He came to our house right after, you know, when he woke up and saw it all. And so that was pretty nerve-wracking. Plus, you know, we you know, the cars go by so fast now, you know, with the roads all being redone, and there's just so much activity around. And so, yeah, we're equally as concerned about what is happening in our township, and, you know, why is this break? You know, I don't know if this is the only break-in, I have no idea, but we got to experience it firsthand.
Okay.
So it concerns us greatly.
Now, what road is that on?
Okay, hang on, Barry. Recognize. Anybody else? Peg?
Yeah, in light of all of that, you know, I was hoping that you would consider extending the hours of coverage for the police, you know, at least until this can be solved, if it's going to be solved. But I know that a lot of people, this is a township with a lot of people that live alone, and they're scared. So.
Yeah, my mom, Evelyn Rounds, got a call today from a woman claiming to be from UPS and said they had a delivery for her and wanted to know if she was going to be home at 10:30. And she says, well, what are you delivering? And they told her she won all this money and a car, which, you know, that's, you know. And so she called my sister and her husband, and they come up, but nobody ever showed up. But they're targeting older people, maybe. People they know live alone.
I mean, you should notify the police if something like that's happening in case it's a trend. They can.
Yeah, it just happened today. And
okay. And you can call the 278 number on the website.
Okay.
That's for non-emergency calls. John?
I wasn't able to get to the last meeting, but I have heard that you're not intending to renew Forest Lake's contract, or you're going to discuss it. Is that?
Well, we discussed it last meeting. I mean, a bit opened up comment to it, but no, there was no, I guess, motion made to ask for a motion to be put on the floor if anybody would like to begin negotiations. There was no motion made. So as for to have something definitive to explain what we did to, you know, that Forest Lake should be notified, you know, put a motion on the floor, a question on the floor that we notify Forest Lake Township that we not continue negotiations, or
when you say on the floor, are you talking about all the people in attendance, or?
Well, I put a motion, this was during new business.
Yeah.
You know, I put the motion on the floor, it was seconded, and then it was opened up for public comment, and then we,
when you
after
say
public.
on the floor, you mean amongst the supervisors, not amongst the attendees?
Well, yeah, the motion's by the supervisors, but the attendees are given an opportunity to provide, I guess, comment and input before a decision is going to be made. And that was allowed, and it's in the meeting minutes.
What was the reaction of the, I wasn't here, so. I mean, did anybody?
Did you miss the meeting minutes? Yeah, you walked in after that.
I mean, that to me was a tremendous value to us. As far as I know, the last I heard, our police department was spending about an hour a shift over there out of an 8-hour shift, which is about 12.5% of their on-shift time. And in the last year, this year, we're getting like $43,000 out of a police budget that's about 147.
Mhm.
So we're getting a third of our police budget from these people and spending a third of that.
There's a lot more to just spend an hour of presence. I mean, there's case time, there's travel time, there's additional gas, there's court time. There's training that, we shouldn't provide all the, there's office space, there's a lot of costs.
Do we have all this
associated.
documented?
I do not. I mean, I have some of this stuff. I'm not, you asked for a spreadsheet at one time. That should have been done prior to signing the contract, stuff like that. But no, I have not.
Well, I mean, what's the actual been over the 2.5, almost 3 years that we've had this contract?
What do you mean?
Well, you have monthly or weekly reports on what time the police spent over there and what they spent over here? Don't you have any statistics?
I have not created statistics. I get information from the chief on time spent on particular incidents at the incident.
Okay, so when you look at that, what does it tell you? How much time are they, how much of the budget are we actually utilizing to be over in Forest Lake Township?
To me, my personal opinion, it doesn't matter. I think it's a liability, it's a diversion on focusing on this township. And for me, I ran on a platform of limited government. Providing police services to other municipalities is not limited government. That's my position. Other supervisors might have different reasons.
Well, providing...
I'm not going to argue with you. If you'd like to try to convince me otherwise, please do.
Well, the other thing you ran on was you weren't going to do anything to change the police department. And you've gotten rid of one full-time officer and you've locked up one of the 2 vehicles. What part of that dials in with what you said you were going to do?
I never made a promise to maintain things that were added essentially a week before I took office. And that contract was signed probably 3 weeks before I took office.
You said you weren't going to change anything, and the minute you got in, you started changing. You cut police.
I'm not going to argue that. You know what I'm saying.
Well, you know what you've done. Now we're looking at a rash of home invasions because everybody knows our police department has been significantly reduced. So now if you don't renew Forest Lake Township, does that mean that we're going to have, we're not going to lose money and we're going to be able to get that other car on the road and put a full-time police officer in it?
You want to get the other car on the road?
With somebody in it and get some coverage, yeah.
Okay.
My question is, do you plan to do that if you don't renew their contract?
I haven't made any plans yet, and we're not renewing the contract. Unless one of the other supervisors wants to bring it and it gets voted on to change their mind, to negotiate, it's not going to happen.
So what kind of input is the public going to have on what you do with the taxpayers' money that's supposed to be allocated to the police department? And as I understand, you're going to get up to $250,000 in impact money from the state per well tax that's being put on the gas companies. Are you going to use any of that to beef up police protection? What would you do with that money when you get it? Have you thought about it? Have you discussed it?
No, we haven't.
So what's your hip shot as to what you would do with that kind of money?
I don't have a hip shot. I don't think it's $250,000. I'll think about it when we know that money's coming. Anything else? You have any comments you'd like to make on it? Because I'm not going to answer any more questions on it.
Well, obviously the 2 main issues in this township, I think, are the condition of our roads and the condition of the safety of all the taxpayers, which relates back to the police department. So I would personally make a request that you seriously consider rehiring another full-time officer, get the car out of the garage and get the 2 of them on the road and get a better police presence. If you're not going to do anything in any other township, then let's get some more coverage here, because at the end of the day, crime has been very low in this township because there has been police presence. And in other townships, and you can do a lot of checking, and you should, find out that there's a lot more drug activity and general crime in other townships that do not have an active police department. It's a significant deterrent. I mean, if you're going to go into the crime business, are you going to do it in a township where there's a lot of police, or are you going to do it where there's none? Simple answer, you're going to go somewhere of the least resistance. That's normal human behavior. And what we're seeing is reduced police presence and increased crime. Now, there's no part of that that sounds good. You agree?
I'm listening to you.
So you're not gonna comment?
No.
Well, I think you owe it to the people who pay the taxes in this township to take a serious look at that and address that issue. Okay? And I would appreciate hearing from you at the next meeting as to what you're gonna do about it. Because obviously, the police protection's down and the crime is up. Now that kind of is a no-brainer to me. And I think that it's a no-brainer. I think we're hearing from a lot of people here tonight who are concerned. And I don't blame them. Obviously, you know, Mr. Whitmore was significantly traumatized. That kind of stuff shouldn't happen. And people are less apt to pull those kind of stunts when they don't know whether a police car is apt to come around a corner in the next minute or two. That's all I got to say.
I'm sorry, I think it was, you know, it was extended, but I do think that the fact that you're not going to be in Forest Lake is going to be a big benefit to Silver Lake Township, because you know I've been complaining about the calls that are going over there, how much time they're spending, how we're assisting Montrose in Rush. We don't belong there. This is our township. Worry about our township. And I think the fact that we're not having another contract is going to provide more service to our township. And I'll make that quick. I'm done.
Joe, did you have your hand up?
Are we into the 5-minute speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's...
Okay, all right. Make people aware of that.
Okay. Police report? Or actually, new business, we have none.
Well, are you finished with the comments?
You did promise her.
Would you have?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. Yeah, I didn't know you were finished. You could indicate that, you know, that you're done or that people can speak. I'd like to mention that I was wondering if you would consider having any kind of a noise ordinance once the compressor stations start to come in here. Because we have now 4 compressor stations being slated for the northern part of our county, Forest Lake, Friendsville, Liberty Township, and eventually it could be us. So I find that when I go to the county commissioner meetings, they're not really proactive. Even though they have an ordinance, they haven't followed through to do anything about it. So when people come in with complaints, which we have from the Lathrop station in Springville and the Teal station in Dimmock, I went over there the past 2 weeks with a meter that some friends of mine have, and we tested the sound up to 80 decibels. Meanwhile, the county has a decibel limit of 50. So when I went to the county, they basically leave it to us. They said, you go out there and test it. They don't even have a sound meter, a noise meter. And we're supposed to make the complaints. But I'm asking you that maybe it might be good to be proactive once they come here. Since now you have wells, every so many wells, they have a compressor station. It's every 2 to 4 miles that I'm seeing in the county. So this is something for the future to consider. So I'm just mentioning it.
Yeah, that's something, and we had talked about it at length, probably started maybe a year and a half to 2 years ago, and started collecting sample ordinances, and we were talking about the planning commission meetings. Under Act 13, you know, along with the impact fee money, and you should read, it's on, it's posted online, you can see the act in its entirety as well as some summaries. And they have set their own limits, and I forget what they were. I'm going to take a guess, as around 55. It was not that low. It could have been 60. It was not that low. It was not as low as we would have put in our own ordinance. I think the number we were playing around with was about 45 dBs. And so essentially, under Act 13, we cannot, since it's regulated under Act 13, we cannot go re-regulate or have anything more stringent than Act 13. And some of those cases are in court. I know the county actually regulated the compressor station dBs under a chapter in their subdivision and land development ordinance. I believe it was called compressor stations, or they added it to one of their chapters. And if you said it's 50, I'll assume you're accurate on that. And they're going to actually have to revise their saldo. There's a period for any municipalities or county, if they have any more stringent requirements than is specified in Act 13, they have to go back and change the ordinance or redo the ordinance. So when this Act 13 was going on, we were essentially advised just to put it on hold to see how it shakes out. And as far as I know, it's not been overturned, the DB limits. I guess if it were, you know, I'd like to look into that. I guess we were going to call it tentatively an industrial noise ordinance. So that's the best I can summarize. I mean, it's been a while since I've reviewed any of that.
Okay. So we'll keep an eye on it, or if you hear anything else, or I
if you
hear
know
something.
different, I mean, I read in the papers that these, you know, some of these provisions are being challenged in court, but I assume it takes a while to go through the system.
Just a quickie on this, and I haven't read this ordinance. Is there anything in it about background noise?
Some ordinances, like the Windsor one, had an ambient, and I believe if, unless you did the testing, you assumed ambient, they provided a number, it might have been 35, or a presumed ambient. Some of the ordinances just have a total.
Yeah, because you could say, all right, the limit's 50, but with the compressor off, the background noise is 55 or 60. You can't hold a guy to 50 if his environment is higher. I'm not trying to...
Yeah, it can get pretty complicated for a small municipality to get into all that, you know.
Well, it's not a real big deal, it's just you write it into the ordinance, and, you know, hey, because I've gotten involved with this in other areas with generators, you know, they'll give you a specific limit of X number of dB, but you can't be any more than this number of dB above the background noise.
That's the way the Windsor one was. The one we were looking at, I think Clifford, and Hartford, I think they had very similar ones. They just did a total.
Well, and then I'm gonna finally say that it's not rocket science to make these things quiet as a mouse walking on cotton. It's relatively simple. You just got to put a couple more bucks into them.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, it's that simple.
And FERC does, that's a federal, if there's zero regulation, I believe FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or committee is
FERC, yeah.
65, I believe.
That's probably not enough. Well, the other thing is, if you're going to get into an ordinance, is you have to take into account what they call the nearest receptor. Okay? As an example, we were doing a project in California, and we were right next to a 10-lane interstate highway with a tremendous amount of background noise. And when they did a study before this was installed, our equipment was going to be 4 dB above the background level at the property line, which happened to be about 25 feet from the equipment. 4 dB now, in general terms, as far as recognition goes, is the perception of sound that you would hear sitting there. If where I'm sitting there was a residential microwave running, that's 4 dB. And the nearest receptor was 300 feet away. So that individual could never tell you whether that microwave was on or not 300 feet away. So you have to have some reality.
All I could do is assume that if it comes up again where we have the opportunity and potentially the need to do that, we'll...
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why these things have to be offensive or loud. Yeah. And it's not that hard to make them quiet.
Okay. Anybody else?
I also was wondering, do you have the, did you look into the traffic survey that was done? Did you check out what PennDOT did or the police did on Quaker Lake Road? Could you tell us what the survey said, you know, or how many cars went by and what does it mean, or?
Did you have access to that info?
Yeah, I have copies here.
Yeah, he was supposed to give it to
Okay,
the
right.
cop.
Okay.
I just want to say that I've attended a number of meetings over the past quite a few years, and I totally approve of your handling of these various situations that come up. I certainly approve of you. You don't shoot from the hip. You like to give a thought-out answer, and you like to consider all the facts. Thank you.
Anything else?
I was also wondering, do you know what's the latest on the chemical spill that was in Laurel Lake to the 4 homes? Do you know if they're doing any kind of test wells? They were supposed to do test wells to find out what's the source. Have you been given any information on that you could tell us about?
The last information was the same as at the last meeting. The DEP representative contacted us, said they'd be putting systems in the people's houses, and that was the last we've heard from them.
So you haven't heard about any test wells? Because they told me they were thinking of doing test wells to find out if it's coming from higher up on McNamara Road, where they might...
They checked other wells around the location, and they said it was to those 4 or 5 wells, and it did not spread.
Well, the thing is, a test well is different than testing water wells. A test well is drilling wells to see where the source of the contamination is coming from. But that wasn't told, you haven't heard anything on that?
I have not heard nothing.
All right. I missed something, we'll move on. Generally do general correspondence prior to public comment. I missed that, so I'll go back, I'll do it now. The township has received an Act 14 notice for ARM Group on behalf of WPX Energy regarding the proposed, and this is kind of a quote, Russin centralized impoundment. That is on with access drive from EB Road. We don't know exactly what that means. We can only...
What did they call it again, or what?
The Russin centralized impoundment.
How do you spell Russin?
R-U-S-S-I-N.
Is that the name of somebody's property?
Yes.
There's a large property owned by the Russins.
So that sounds like it's some sort of a...
It's the same as, there's one on Kane Road, Grassman impounding them.
And what is it?
They store water there to use for the fracking.
Storage area.
Yeah.
So they put one, it's all by the same name. I didn't, that's what it sounds like, I didn't want to guess.
Yeah, it's the same.
Okay.
Since we have a representative...
Just, go ahead.
Since we have a representative from WPX, Mr. Miller is here, can he explain what an impoundment is? Where is the water coming from for the fracking?
Maybe during new business, we can just give him a brief time. Are you a representative from WPX? Would you like to?
Well, it's like you say, it's a water storage area.
Okay. Let me just kind of wrap this up, right? So pretty much we've covered public comment, general correspondence, and I guess under new business, just for our own edification, if you could just give us a brief description of what that is. So.
We have a couple of water storage facilities. This is a place that we just centralize the location of the water that we're going to use in hydraulic fracturing, so that we don't have to travel as far to get it, don't have to have as many trucks running across the road. This is, at this point, we're going through the permitting process. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get built, but we do have to go through the permitting process, and if we determine that it's in our budget, then we go forward with building. We only have to get the permits.
Okay.
And what is the source of your water?
Just,
so what is the source of the water? He's not answering that question. Where do they get it from?
Well, could you add?
We draw our water from a variety of sources, some the Susquehanna River, various ponds and lakes that we get permits to draw the water from.
Are you going to be pumping it to the thing, or it'll all be trucked there pretty much?
Probably trucked there.
Okay. So the benefit of doing that allows you to at a more gradual rate truck it and use it in larger quantities when you need it?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for providing information on that. Okay. New business, though. I don't think we had any.
No.
Okay. So I guess we'll just put that under. New business. Okay. Police report?
Evening, folks. Here's the speed minder results. 6 of them here. People need more copies, then I'll make some more copies up. Before I give the police report, for the media advisory, I believe you was asking about it, I was contacted by the media. I did 2 interviews in one day, and I was actually trying to work on the cases, and I had probably 4 or 5 other medias that were contacting me and wanted me to do interviews and stuff. I didn't because I wanted to work on these cases, so that's my fault.
But do they come to you when they find out about this stuff? Because nothing ever gets out there. You don't know what's going on.
Usually, like the newspaper or the media will contact us, or they'll contact the comm center. If they hear something on the scanner, they'll contact the comm center. I mean, Channel 16 did an interview with me before I knew it. Channel 28 was calling for me, and everybody else. They just look at everybody's website and see what's going on. Okay, for the month we had 34 incidents. We had 3 medicals, 3 burglaries, 1 criminal mischief, 3 disabled vehicles, 1 domestic dispute, 3 reports of erratic drivers, 2 cases of fraud, 3 911 hang-up calls, 1 case of littering, 3 miscellaneous investigations, 3 motor vehicle accidents, 1 structured fire alarm with the fire company, 1 report of a suspicious person, 1 suspicious vehicle, 3 larceny thefts. We did 1 traffic stop for the month, and we had 1 welfare check.
Could you give a, just kind of a, people had some questions or earlier about the, you know, the break-ins, if you could tell us what you can.
Well, there's not too much to tell. There is a pattern to the break-ins, and we're looking at that. We changed up our hours a little bit. As far as we know, what's going on is they're going in and just snatching quick money or drugs. Meaning, like if you have medication, you know, prescription pills and stuff like that. They are forcing their way in. For the 1 incident, they used a crowbar going through the door. The other one, they kicked the door in. Basically, the whole point of the media advisory was to make the citizens aware so that we can be alert. We're getting a lot of tips coming in because of that. And the other reason for the media advisory is to let the criminals know that we're on alert and watching.
Okay.
Can you get, we have questions?
Excuse me, yeah, public comments over. And
But we have questions of the...
Essentially tell what you can tell about it, and he's
Well,
done that.
other times you let us question the chief of police.
No, we're done.
And why are you not allowing public comments of police?
Public comments over, John. Talk to me after.
Why can't you speak to the police then anymore? Why is that? When did you make that decision?
Not been recognized.
Well, I don't find that acceptable.
For the month of September, we've finished our dirt and gravel road project on Wilkes-Barre Turnpike, and we've been touching up some of the roads where they need it, and we're going to be doing that throughout the month of October. The truck we've been working on, that'll be our plow truck for this 2012-2013 season, is at the body manufacturer, and the body's being put on it, and I'm hoping to have it back by the end of the month. That's about all I have for the road report.
You'll be running it this winter?
I hope so.
I know, that's only good.
We'll just use it as a backup for now.
Assessment permits, none issued. I believe I gave you a copy of the one that was probably late from last month.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that was last month. So, yeah, there were no assessment permits last month. Any driveway permits? So no driveway permits applied for or issued? Okay. Fireworks permits, none. I'm forgetting anything. Okay. All righty. I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second that.
All in favor? And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All right.
Francis, my suggestion was, put some notes on the website.
Okay.
Okay? You got a resident here that's telling about somebody calling up to see if they were home and had truly nothing to deliver. I mean, obviously, not everybody is aware of what's been going on because, you know, not everybody gets the Wilkes-Barre stations and all the rest of that stuff. I think it'd be a good idea in conjunction with the police, so you know, do it well and correctly. Put a note on, and we've heard reports of this, put it right on the front page.
Yeah, Jim's redoing the website right now. I'll talk to him about that current things. I mean, he'll put just a block right here, something current.
I don't know how many people look at our website, but if they know there's stuff like that on there.
Well, that's true.
It can't hurt.
Probably more than you think.
When you're home,
That's all I have to say.
what's going on in your area, what you know.